Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest today. We have from Rhode Island author David Schoorens, and I think I said that right. Welcome, David.
You said that right. Thank you.
Yes. And he has written, this is his first novel, his debut, and it's called Refuge. Did you do the cover?
No, I have sort of an in-family artist. His name is inside the book.
Yeah.
Bob Lavoie. He's my brother-in-law. And he did the little stuff there with the cover very nicely, I thought.
Yeah, but you know why? This is a super eye-catcher. When I got this in the mail, I'm like, this guy's on the right road.
That's what I thought.
Exactly.
You know, that was my first impression.
Exactly. Now, when did you start writing this?
Oh, boy. It was over a year and a half ago. It was one of those things where I've often thought, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could write something that's worthy. Okay, that goes on for years.
Yeah.
Well, life goes on for you. And then I retired, and I wasn't really interested in playing golf every day.
No.
I thought I retired, and I should do something. And oh, by the way, there's a pandemic going on, and this is an opportunity that I could use. And so I went ahead and fulfilled an ambition.
You did that, yeah.
And the idea percolated up, you know.
And that's how it happened.
From current events.
Well, yeah, definitely. I picked up on that here. I really did. I love this. To his dad, to my dad, Richard Schoorens. Dad was an avid reader of history. Sounds like my father. That was only one of the many gifts he passed to me. He died 3 days after my 65th birthday, and 9 days before I wrote this dedication. I only wish he had the chance to read a draft of my first work.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Do you have kids, grown children?
Yes, I do. My oldest, Greg, he's a science teacher.
Yeah?
And him and his wife, we have a beautiful granddaughter, Evangeline. And I have a middle son, Christopher, who's an engineer with Maxar Technologies out in Sunnyvale, California. And my youngest, my daughter, who was born in the Netherlands, she is an optometrist with the Veterans Administration in Manchester, New Hampshire.
You did something right.
I like to brag about my kids. In case
You should.
Yeah.
You should. How often, how rare is it that a lot of people I meet, either their child hasn't found themselves yet or whatever, they don't know, but you've got 3 kids who went exactly for what they wanted.
Well, a lot of the credit I'll give to my wife.
Yeah.
She is very self-disciplined, and I think she gave that to the kids.
Yeah.
She had to be self-disciplined and smart.
Did you grow up with all books? I have a feeling, a lot of books.
Yeah, always with my dad. He was always reading something.
Yeah, mine too. My father had this huge library at home. Every Sunday was politics. They'd sit down and they'd watch Meet the Press, all that stuff. Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's how I grew up, the newspapers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, give us a hint of what Refuge is all about.
Refuge. Well, let's try to, the genre question usually is the first thing that comes up. And if we're going to, I don't think it fits in just one particular genre. It is a political thriller. It's a military thriller. But it also is a morality play where people have to deal with a new situation, a new world, in ways they're not prepared for.
Yeah.
I chose a very peaceful and lovely part of the world to set the novel in. That would be between Maine and New Brunswick, between the town of Eastport, Maine, and across Passamaquoddy Bay and up to St. Croix to St. Andrews by the Sea in New Brunswick. 2 small towns They're in some ways different because Eastport is a bit of a fishing town, but they're both tourist towns. Neither of them has a permanent population that exceeds 2,000, so they're small. And you could not find a more peaceful part of the world where the border between the United States and Canada is almost immaterial in some ways. I changed the situation there.
Yep.
I imagine that we have a populist, far-right government in the United States. I don't imagine that happens because of catastrophe or something man-made or natural or conquest of the United States or some of these more far-out scenarios. It happens after an election.
Yep.
An election that, let's say, one side, left unnamed, changes election laws to their favor in enough places. They use enough deceit and lies and propaganda to persuade people. And then enough people also just choose to blank it all out and try to ignore it and get through their days. And then there it is.
Yeah.
So I have in St. Andrews by the Sea several characters that are Americans, that they find themselves in Canada. Some of them have fled the United States to go to Canada. And some got caught there. Because the border gets closed, not because of a pandemic now, but because of political considerations. Because the United States to the Canadians is no longer really an ally. It's more of an adversary. Now that seems really different from our experience today, our real-world experience.
Right.
My family history on my mother's side is from Nova Scotia,
So was my grandfather.
Yarmouth area.
Did they come? Let me see.
That would be at the southern part.
Yeah. Did they come
Of the
over from
isthmus.
Scotland or Wales?
They came over actually from Germany.
Well,
And I hinted that in the book, in the opening
yeah,
scene.
I'm just trying to. I think mine were Scottish or Welsh. I know
Yeah.
it's all Scottish.
Yeah, my mother's parents had a Germanic-sounding name, Weihnacht.
Yep.
Wasn't very popular in Canada after World War I to have that. My grandfather was a carpenter, a master carpenter. He needed to get business, so he anglicized the name to Weihnacht.
Spring Hill, near Halifax.
Not further south, down toward Yarmouth.
Yeah.
Go all the way down.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, they eventually emigrated to the United States. And I knew a number of Canadians serving in the Canadian Armed Forces when my wife and I and our kids were living over in Germany, at Geilenkirchen NATO Air Base. There was a large Canadian contingent there. Great bunch of people, highly professional, and you just get to know them. And a lot of those memories, stayed with me long enough to become elements of the story.
Right.
And on the U.S. side of the story, back to the story a little bit,
Yeah.
in Eastport, there's a United States Coast Guard station.
And you were in the Coast Guard.
And I was in the Coast Guard. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
So the missions are pretty much the same, but their technology and their level of training
Yeah.
and their organization, I
You
think,
were an
is
officer, right, David?
vastly superior. Yes, I was a junior officer, a JG, and that also a lieutenant in the reserves. But I place a U.S. military officer, a Coast Guard lieutenant, at that station, and that's where the moral struggles come from. If you're on active duty, politics are out of bounds. You stay on the mission, you take care of the mission, you take care of your people, you stay out of politics.
Exactly.
And that's what we all hope they do. Well, so this officer shows up at the station. Unusual for a lieutenant to command a small station like that. I'll let the reader find out
Yeah.
what goes on there. So you have almost these characters almost within sight of each other across that border. And it just leads to the plot developing and what happens in
Has
the
your
middle.
family
and the
read
end.
this? Your kids? And
My wife wrote it. She liked it, but again, she has a biased opinion.
of course. And then your kids?
And my kids have read it. My extended family members have read it. My mom has read it.
Your mother has read it.
Yes, she did.
And your dad passed just 9 days before it.
I got the first draft. So
He would have loved it.
yeah, I think he would have.
He probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Maine, you had mentioned Biddeford. What happened up there? You lived there for a while, your dad and mom?
Oh, I grew up in Bedford, Massachusetts. From there, I went to Southeastern Massachusetts University. Okay, only old timers remember it as that.
Yeah.
And then it was into the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Okay, so my parents, in the meantime, they sold their house in Bedford, and they bought a place that they would eventually rebuild up in Biddeford, on Biddeford
Up
Pool.
in Biddeford.
Yeah, and they'd been there for 30 years and more.
Were you were born there then? No, wait a minute.
No, I was born in Needham, Mass.
You were born in Needham.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had their place in Bedford, and everything. And they built a life there.
What made you want to go into science as a teacher? Just did it?
I did it. Maybe I watched too much Jacques Cousteau
Jacques
on
Cousteau, yeah,
television in
under the
those
wire.
days. Yeah. It just
So you knew when you graduated high school you were going to go to Southeastern, right?
I was going to go to SMU and degree in biology.
Where is Southeastern?
Southeastern Massachusetts University is in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
Okay. Is there another name for it now? Just Dartmouth?
Oh, University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to Plymouth State, which is part of Plymouth, New Hampshire, which is part of the university.
Yeah.
Have you noticed how a lot of the state colleges now are not state? It's now Plymouth State University, not Plymouth State College.
Yeah.
They're doing that a lot now. I've noticed it. That's fine. They're getting so big.
They are. Yeah.
They are.
They
Now,
get so
you've been
costly.
going around a little. You're going to different places. What's your schedule coming up? Are you going to be...
Well, they can find out some of my events because I have a website.
Mhm.
www.refuge,
Mhm.
davidschoorens.com, or you can find me through Stillwater River Publications in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Still, I know...
Stephen Don Porter.
Yeah. Very nice. He was...
He is, yeah.
He used to be in charge of the December Rhode Island Authors event. I think somebody else is in charge.
Yeah, he's involved in that, yeah.
Yeah. You weren't in it yet, but you probably will be in this December, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, and I have another one on December 7th on Pearl Harbor Day. Another book thing I'll be going to at one of the Narragansett Brewery events that the Association of Rhode Island Authors has arranged for. And let's see, what else?
How far are you willing to travel, David?
How far am I willing to travel?
Yeah.
Well, not around the world, but it depends on what I see as the possible payoff.
Yeah.
Now, for example, I'm considering we're going to Maine on a vacation. I'll be within 70 miles of the border. Oh, I could skip across to St. Andrews now that the border is open and pay a visit to some people I sent a copy of that book to.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, it starts at the Sunrise Cafe.
Yeah.
That was inspired by a real restaurant in St. Andrews.
In St. Andrews.
And I sent them a copy.
And you didn't hear back?
Oh, I did.
Oh, good.
They were going on an extended vacation, I think, to Florida, judging by their business Facebook page.
Yeah.
And they got back, and there's this package from this Yank, and they opened it up, and there's a book, and I had a cover letter with it, and there was an article about it in the St. Croix Courier, so they were like over the moon on that. So.
Yeah. That's great. You got one. Big interest there. Somebody really showed. Sometimes I find my authors say, well, I connected with them, but they didn't show an interest. I'm like, follow up, everything, emails, even the phone. Don't give up if it's something you really, really want to do.
Yeah, I even dropped off a copy last time I was up at this vacation spot in Maine to the Coast Guard station in Eastport. And I paid an unannounced visit there.
Yeah.
And I figured I could, bluff my way in with a copy of the book and being a Coast Guard
right
veteran.
in your own town where you live. I mean, I would think the library would have it right there.
I just have some books up on the shelf put up yesterday at Island Books in Middletown, the next town over. So it's like you try to get one thing done every day. And I'm always looking for events, and so now I got about 5 different ones.
It doesn't just
kinda
always
lined
have to
up.
be an
And-
event, though. It can be
Oh, yeah.
places. Even senior centers. Not only that, but libraries, bookstores, cafe bookstores. We're loaded with this up this way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's funny that you mention that, because I was talking at the last book expo for what Steve Porter's involved with, the ARIA event in December. I was talking to a carpenter who actually lives in Portsmouth, and he's a professor emeritus at the Naval War College. And he's written a number of different historical fiction and he's a historian, books, and I was talking to him about stuff, and he said the best day he had in the sales of his book was at his wife's quilting club.
Yeah.
So you try everything you can think of, and that's what I'm kind of moving along at.
Yeah, definitely.
And, and a lot of different Facebook groups, too. And
What about the school you were science? Where were you a science teacher at? What school?
oh, I sent them some stuff, too.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
they should have that, from our former teacher right up there.
Well, it may be a moot point, because I just found out that they're closing that school.
They're closing?
Bishop Connolly in Fall River. It's too bad. It was,
The high school is closing.
it's
Why?
a Catholic high school. They just can't keep enough numbers there. But the staff there did, and the administration, they did everything humanly possible to keep it going.
Yeah.
So they should be proud of what they tried to do.
Is there something coming now? Another book? This was the first.
I'm working on something, yes.
Working. Any hints for us?
Okay, the hints.
Just little hints. Something that can, whet their appetite.
Often through that book, it does have a political edge to it. And I'm not planning on going to any Texas gun shows to try to sell that particular book. It may not meet with a great deal of
I don't think it would
reception.
go over with a big bang. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, no pun intended.
No.
But I wondered, suppose an author wrote that, and frankly, given today's politics
Yeah.
and the ease at which people can be attacked,
Yeah.
what if an author was?
The author was attacked? Yeah.
This fictional author wrote a book, offended people.
Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen after that?
Yeah.
That's excellent. I like that.
And so it opens with him suddenly realizing he's been taken.
Have you started it already?
Yes.
That's a good sign. Maybe by fall or next year?
I am hoping by fall.
Let me know. We'll
Yeah.
get that on again.
I haven't quite squared in my mind if there's any ultimate destination with the story.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't really have one for this
No,
either.
I think you just kind of came to you as you went.
Yeah, it was a lot of seat of the pants stuff.
Yeah.
And, and I had to, maybe for my own ego, I had to throw in some of my own experiences in that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's one particular maritime rescue case in there that
We're talking about
I
David
remember
Schoorens. And
doing it
David,
myself.
How can they get your book?
Well, the easiest way is where we get everything in our lives now, Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So you type in Refuge, my last name, and it'll come up.
Yeah.
You can also look at Stillwater River Publications and order it through them. And I see it pop up on Fantastic Fiction, too.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. It's just there.
Yeah. This is would you call it a thriller?
I call it a thriller of a political nature, of a military nature. But if you're looking for, hand-to-hand combat, you're not really going to find that in there.
No.
I think it's in some ways more realistic.
Oh yeah. This is not something that I would say could never happen.
That's the thing, and I've had people say it's timely.
Yeah.
Not formal reviews. People I know
Yeah.
who've read it, and they said it's timely. They've also used the word scary more than once.
Yeah.
Because, isn't that the job of a fiction writer? You take something that may seem implausible and make it plausible?
And it's not sci-fi, obviously. No. This is
No.
really, yeah.
No, I haven't tried my hand at sci-fi yet.
No, I don't think I'd be very good at
So-
it. I don't know.
I'm not going to come up with The Martian.
Oh, really?
overnight.
Okay. You grew up in Bedford, you said, right?
I grew up in Bedford, yeah.
Did you go to high school there, too?
Yeah, I did.
Now, you and Paul could have a nice discussion afterwards. You two are both hail from Bedford.
Class of 75.
He was a little ahead of you.
Yeah, I know I went there. I don't know what I did while I was there.
You don't?
Probably a few things that I have never told my parents about, but
That's okay. I think a lot of us have pulled off a few things that they didn't
Yeah.
know about. So you were probably good in math and science in school, right?
I was better at science.
No wonder you became a science teacher.
Well, as I alluded to, my wife, she became a physician,
Yeah. Is she a primary
the-
care or?
family practitioner, through the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences, the F. Edward A. Bear School of Medicine, which is a long way of saying
Yeah.
the Department of Defense's own medical school at Bethesda, Maryland.
Wow.
She got through, she's, as we like to say, wicked smart,
Wicked smart.
and she's brilliant, and she's dedicated to her craft, and she's very self-disciplined, and she's a good leader. So she went up through the ranks, retired as a lieutenant colonel. I went with her.
Yeah.
I was what they called, when I got overseas with her in Germany, the dependent husband.
Oh.
And I was
Dependent husband.
maybe the only dependent husband in the whole place.
Germany, right?
Germany, yeah. There's a joint NATO air wing there. They fly those big 707s with the radar dish on top of it, the AWACS. And you meet people from all the different NATO components. Belgians, Danes, our neighbor was a master sergeant in the Danish Air Force, Turks, and Canadians. They had the second largest contingent. It was Germans, Americans, and then the Canadians.
Yeah.
So, and we had to live on the economy, so we really got to know the area very well.
Yeah.
And we actually did 2 tours there. So we went from Maryland to Geilenkirchen to F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming,
Yeah.
ICBMs, back to Geilenkirchen, and then finally to Hanscom Air Force Base,
Oh, you did end up at
which
Hanscom.
Paul might know about.
Oh my gosh. You've
and-
been all over the lot.
Yes.
You like that though? You like to live like that?
It's an invaluable life experience.
You make a lot of friends, right? I mean, really.
Yeah, I look at friends in Wyoming,
Yeah.
and what's interesting, especially within the armed forces. Now, granted, I left the Coast Guard long before we started doing all this stuff, but you meet people in those situations, and you can not see them for 20 years. You meet them again, it's like you only saw them yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, we a lot of close friends and everything, and for my kids, invaluable
Oh, yeah.
cultural experiences.
I'm thinking, you went to Bedford, wherever a person goes to high school. Perfect. I mean, you were a graduate from there.
And-
where it can take you.
Yeah, they taught me how to write.
Yeah. So you liked English class, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
to an extent. I mean, like any teenager, it's like, oh, grammar, ugh,
Yeah.
But
You've got a great way to write, though. You learned that somehow, or it's natural.
I internalized whatever they told me,
Yeah.
whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah.
And I've kept at it, and other people along the years have said, oh, well, I'd write a memo or something like
No
that.
other
and work, and
authors in your family. You're it.
I'm
You
it.
are the only one. And there's another one coming, folks. Again, we've been talking with David Schoorens. He's the author of Refuge. It's a political thriller type of thing. David, again, how can they reach you?
Well, they can get the book through Amazon. Just Refuge in my name, you'll find it. It's hard to miss that book cover.
Very hard to miss this.
It can be obtained also through Stillwater River Publications in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. They have a website. You just Google that. And also I have my own website, www.refuge, David Schoorens, Schoorens.
I was just going to ask you to spell it.
Yes, if I only had a penny for every time I've had to spell that, I would have won the lottery,
It's a beautiful last name.
It's Belgian.
Yeah. Have you been to Belgium at all?
We lived a few minutes from there.
For a few minutes you were living
Yeah.
there. This
Yeah,
is amazing.
Went to see my relatives over there one
Yeah,
time.
give them a wave, like we're up this way.
Found some survivors that
It's been a pleasure to meet. Let me tell you, you're going to have a copy of this down at the Upton
Yes.
Town Library. You can pick up a copy down there and look at that. And by the way, our library is of May 1st, 2nd. We're still at Upton, but
Yeah.
there's a huge building having been built across the way, and they're going to just shift over to that
pick
building.
everything up and go.
Oh yeah, they'll take everything with them. But I think this is great. It's another way to get out, get noticed. You know,
Mhm.
people say, gee, I saw him on Be My Guest. Once you're on YouTube, you're all over the world. That's it.
Oh, yes. I was shocked that actually a couple of those books sold in the UK,
Yeah,
another one in Germany,
sure.
and, you know,
I think we've had anywhere from 300 hits and to I think, tons of hits on our show. And a lot of that is when the guests talk to their friends and everybody from next, they're all watching.
oh, I'll put a link on a lot of
Yeah,
the
make sure-
Facebook groups I'm with.
Make sure you do it. Now let us know when you've got the next one coming up, okay? Because this is fantastic. I want to read the next one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being
It
with
means
us,
a lot.
David.
Oh, my pleasure.
We'll have him back. We'll see you next time on Be My Guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.